All right, Solo v Calavi heading into losers bracket round 3. Winner of this goes to the losers bracket round 4, and the winner of that has a chance to still participate in the finals. That's how double elimination works. Ho-ho! Bonus damage to attributes is used to recreate a damage model similar to Brood War. So it's actually an interesting mix, because in Brood War, if you didn't know this, the damage scaled versus small, medium, large. It wasn't spelled out for you either. So if you didn't know, there's no way you could really figure it out except by your intuition. And then in StarCraft, they introduced light, armored, biological, psionic, things like that. All right, we've got Infested v Raiders. This is actually a matchup we saw between Summerloud and Calavi in one of my previous casted replays. All right, so Infested, if we haven't seen them in the tournament, so if you didn't watch my previous cast, Infested is very, very different from what you'd expect for Zerg. I mean, they're Zergy. It's all about, like, throwing tons and tons of units. In fact, probably more so than normal Zerg. You just throw just masses of shitty units, and it's crazy. So they've got their little feederlings here, and this is their town hall, the brood hive. But your brood mother is actually the thing that makes all of your buildings and all of your units. You can have multiple brood mothers. So, I don't know. I think Infested is a really interesting race, and I don't think I've really puzzled out what makes them super strong in the late game yet, but maybe we'll see right here. All right, Calavi's sending a Raiders SCV over rather than waiting for the energy to call down a mule, because keep in mind, the time that it takes an SCV to go across the map, you're going to be getting close to 75 energy. You could just drop a mule right in their base and see what's up, but I mean, you're not really using mules for anything early on. Alternatively, you just go ahead and use your supply call down or your scatter sweep. So the thing about Raiders is they don't have a defensive town hall like many of the other factions do, but they do have these mules, which you can use mid-combat anywhere on the map, which just makes them incredibly helpful. The Brood Mothers, by the way, do not have a normal attack. So don't be scared running by one of them, SCV. I mean, they're full of spines and stuff. You think they just gotta, like, move their arm and it's an attack, even if it's, like, 1 damage. Look at this brave SCV. His rank is Malcontent? What? I like how the lower level of Infested are called Infections. Yeah, go ahead, get that Infested, kill him. Now you'll notice that there are no wounded feederlings. That's something that's interesting with Infested is they have like a very, very high regeneration rate. So harassment against them isn't quite as effective because their units get all of their health back very, very quick, especially buildings. So you can't like harass down a town hall with a small group because it's gonna take 50% longer most likely because of its very, very noticeable regeneration rate. Okay, so what do we have going on here? It looks like we have an expansion coming out from Solo. Calavi not expanding, getting a bunker. Perhaps he's expecting to get attacked right now, but we actually don't have any sort of unit production out for. Oh, never mind. There's a roach warren, but we don't really have. We didn't see any infested colonies or anything coming out from Solo, so it's possible that Calavi's expecting a roach attack here pretty soon, but the Queen has pooped out 5 of them. These aren't really roaches in the traditional sense. They're small roaches. They only have 45 health. They do 9 damage. They're infested roaches. They're like roachlings. It's hard to say. They're better than roachlings, but they're worse than traditional roaches. We've got Calavi going ahead for a fast expansion. We've got a couple raiders coming out here, rallying them right into the bunker. This bunker should be enough to push back these roaches. They do have +1 armor, but only 45 health. So then I think the raiders, I can't click on them when they're in there, but I don't really know the raider stats compared to like the Dominion Marine stats or the normal StarCraft 2 stats. But I think their main attribute is that you can upgrade them such that they're like permanently stimmed, and that's like the end game Terrazine upgrade for raiders for their biological stuff. So again, with this bunker here, I think that should be enough for this. He sent 1 roach up there, yeah, and he wipes out that roach. Again, 45 health. They're not going to last too long, but you even saw briefly there, it did get like a noticeable enough amount of health regenerated that the health bar changed from orange to yellow, like instantly too. That's how fast that they regenerate health. And it's not like super fast, but it is very noticeable in my opinion. And there is a day-night cycle part of HeptaCraft, and the Infested actually have better regeneration at night. So I think that's pretty nice. I think it's nighttime right now actually, which is why that roach had good regeneration. The buildings always have good regeneration. The units have good regeneration at night. And yeah, it looks like now it's turning into daytime again. I think if you're in the game, there's an indicator on whether it's day or night. So it looks like we've got Calavi doing a bio build right now, but he does have a factory coming out. just one factory, so we'll see what his plans are with that. Possibly some siege tanks just to help defend. 4 more roaches going across the map. I'm not sure what his plans are. We have 8 roaches trying to scurry across the map. The question is, can they push through this one bunker? 45 health on these roaches is just so terribly low. I am not sure how long day-night lasts. I see someone in the chat ask that question. I'm not sure myself. You'll notice it looks... Well, it looks like maybe 4 to 5 minutes. It's minute 5, and it looks like it went from night to day somewhere in there. I'm not sure if the map started on day or not. So you'll see this broodmother's up to level 2. You need to level up your broodmothers. By leveling up your broodmothers, it allows you to get higher tiered units. So everything, all your buildings, all your units come from your broodmother, but only higher level broodmothers can spawn higher tech things. So that's how your tech works with the Infested. You can have other broodmothers and you can level them up too, but it just costs money. I believe there's a late game upgrade that allows you to nullify the necessity to level up your broodmothers. So it looks like Solo deciding his 8 roaches probably won't be able to get through this group. These roaches are light, actually, so these firebats will do very, very well against them. I'm going to say this every game. I love how small these firebats are. They're so cute. I don't know. I love them. They're so tiny. Maybe I'm just so used to seeing them a little bigger. A lot bigger, actually. So Solo taking a 3rd base right now. Raiders, Calavi on 2, but he does have a nice bio ball. He doesn't really have any info. He is scouting with this Mobius Marine... not Mobius SCV. Raiders SCV. And when there's 7 factions, it's a lot harder to keep track of what's what. Okay, you gotta give me a bit of a break. So, it's tricky for Calavi because he could just send this bio ball right now, and we, the viewers, know he could probably make serious progress because Solo right now has 8 roaches, and that's it. But, Soaring Roost, what does this do? I'm interested to check that out. And, But he doesn't know that, and he could send a mule out. He is getting some of these siege tanks. You'll see that the Raider siege tanks are Arclight siege tanks, and the Dominion siege tanks are Crucio siege tanks. Now we've got Corruptors coming up and across the map. These can attack ground. Interesting. So these are like infested harassment units. We'll see how they do. 125 health, 11 damage, and they do turn into Broodlords. And these, I assume, he needed the Soaring Roost to do. So these Corruptors seem pretty versatile. They do have fairly low health. And it looks like Calavi sending his units across the map. These Corruptors, just really good timing right now. And here goes Calavi trying to clear some creep. Probably going to swing up here and able to take out this 3rd base, or at least try to, unless he tries to go straight for the 2nd base, not knowing the 3rd base is there. Meanwhile, these Corruptors, looks like they're actually turning around to come home and support their units. Meanwhile, Calavi pushing into the 3rd base, and I don't know what Solo has that can go against this, mainly if he can get some Banelinks out or something like that. I'm not really sure. These tanks are pretty low. Oh, dear, and that is the Brood Hive's defensive ability. You can spawn Banelinks. You saw them come down in drop pods, and that is why harassment is still important in HeptaCraft, but there are counters to it. You will not necessarily lose the game right away. Wow, and that spawn Banelings really changed everything. We have tons of cocoons here. It looks like a broodmother must have just laid out 22 cocoons and then burrowed. So we've got a lot of roaches. Again, these roaches aren't great, but there's something. You can get Ravagers from them later. We have a decent amount of Corruptors, 9 Corruptors coming across the map. There are missile turrets here, but these might be able to wipe them out. Let's see. It looks like no, he doesn't want to mess around with that many missile turrets. Even a 4th and a 5th one going down. This 2nd base is really locked up tight by Calavi. Calavi, though, 3rd base coming up, making missile turrets before he does anything else. And here come the Corruptors, right on time, but not enough SCVs to really deal with this amount of Corruptors. He's going to lose 1. And down goes the missile turret. So these kind of seem like a poor man's Mutalisk, if you ask me. They don't have a bounce attack. They do reasonable damage, but not great. A decent amount of roaches down here. Calavi kind of pissed, moving down, saying, leave my 3rd base alone. And here come Marines. And just like Marines against Mutalisks, going to tear through these Corruptors. It's weird talking about Corruptors as a harassment unit, but that's how they function in HeptaCraft. And I like that. You know, Infested needs some sort of flying harassment. I feel like every race needs something like that. And now it looks like he's going to try to push with this amount of roaches, but this amount of roaches, I just don't know. It seems like these roaches are barely comparable to normal Marines. Granted, they have that base +1 armor, but they attack slowly. And again, like one of these roaches seems just good enough to take out a Marine. Not to mention there are these field doctors in there. So let's see how this goes. And yeah, those roaches just melting, just completely melting. It just seems like those roachlings, I'm calling them roachlings because they just don't seem very good. They're about comparable to like a normal Marine, but they can't stim. I feel like maybe their power is eventually morphing them into Ravagers, where you can get that corrosive bio, which may really be what Solo needs to do if he wants to go against this large of a group of Marines. And what are both players teching to? Procreation, what is this? Increases broodling count for broodlords and creeper count for brood hosts. We saw brood hosts in the past. Considering we have a soaring roost here, soaring roost. We may see some broodlords being morphed from these corruptors. I like the idea of a soaring roast. It's just like a beef brisket flying through the sky, slowly harassing SCVs. And here come these corruptors again, another large group of them, 9 of them, coming in to harass this third base. This third base just not being allowed to really be kept down, or at least never feeling quite safe. Calavi having to keep his units at home. What this is really doing, even though Solo's not able to destroy the command center, it's allowing him to force Calavi to stay in base here. And then further, Solo is able to take several other bases. So he's got 4. Calavi barely getting up his third base, and Calavi's saying, you know what, I'm going for it. And if these corruptors turned around, they could wipe out this third base, most likely. But does he have anything at home? Just a small group of brooches. And it looks like Solo's going heavy infested air, and I'm curious to see if we're going to see broodlords right now. He can morph broodlords. He has high enough tech. He has high enough tech for that. And he's going to have to try to go up against these raiders. And Calavi smartly getting wraiths. These are going to do fairly well, I believe. Oh, dodging those banelings. Trying to get those banelings in on those Marines. Run, Marines! The Marines trying to run away from those banelings. Those banelings are timed. Wow. He did wipe out the field medics, though, so these Marines cannot be healed. So even though that spawned banelings, I feel like is a very, 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 very powerful... very, very powerful defensive ability. Actually, he's not spawning banelings, excuse me. He's using drop pods. So he can deliver those anywhere on the battlefield. It's 3 roaches and 2 banelings. It's similar to spawn banelings, but still, that is just fantastic. Decent creep spread from Solo right now, just considering he's able to see his entire side of the map for the most part. This 4th base is in danger right now. Calavi trying to push across the map, and now Calavi trying to keep the pressure on. Wow, stimming those Marines and just taking out a big hunk of those corruptors, coming with the roaches now and spawning drop pods, trying to get those banelings in there. I'm not sure if baneling speed is an option. I mean, live casting right now probably isn't the best time to try to be looking for what the different... trying to find out what the different upgrades are for the different races, but I don't even see a baneling nest. I mean, there is an upgrade for Infested that I do know about that allows you to move banelings while burrowed. It's very slow, but they can do it, which just seems really, really good. So, like, you can burrow banelings here. You see Marines coming on the stream. You can burrow them here and then move them, and then dead Marines. And I feel like maybe if Solo transitions away from the corruptors, we have such a heavy raider composition here. Plus, they have the U-238 shells, which gives them increased range. And lots of tech coming up now. We have Ravens coming out from Calavi, and I don't know what these are, so we have to check this out. There must be more. Further increases creeper count for brood hosts. So he's getting these upgrades for brood hosts, but he's not making any. Brood hosts are basically brood lords on the ground. So let's see, no more roaches. So he's increasing, he's getting upgrades for brood hosts, which are, again, they're brood lords of the ground. They're like carriers on the ground, if you didn't see my replay of them. Wow, lots of corruptors here. And, I mean, he can do a lot of damage with these. He could probably just start sniping production buildings with these, assuming he doesn't run into this Raider Ball or get Hunter Seeker Missile. That would be a mistake. I don't know. This seems like these would count as projectiles, so it's possible point defense drones will also work very, very well.
It's about damn time.
So we've got, 3 Ravens here, and again, that Marine Ball will chase away the Corruptors, but the problem is Calavi is, I think, tentative to leave, because if he leaves, he knows these Corruptors can wipe him out. So it's kind of mutually assured destruction. Calavi knows if he leaves his base, the Corruptors could destroy him, but with this amount of units, he most likely can push down into Solo. But Solo, here's the Brood Host that I've been talking about this whole time. Again, they're like carriers on the ground. They're Broodlords on the ground, but more like carriers. You'll see what they do, but they shoot out these little creepers, and he did get these upgrades. He's still researching There Must Be More, which I assume costs Terrazine, but I can't see right now. And they're really, really good units. We will see them as they go, but he did get the Procreation, and then he's also getting the More There Must Be More. So that will be very, very helpful. And we have a group of Corruptors here. And this base looks wide open. Again, the big issue is both players, kind of a Cold War situation. They're really tentative to attack each other. Solo seemingly have a big lead here by supply, but keep in mind a lot of that is sunk into these roaches, which just aren't really that good unless he starts turning them into Ravagers. Calavi maybe getting a little impatient trying to move out here. I'm not sure if maybe he wants to get some siege tanks or not. I can't imagine those would be too good, though, against the Brood Hosts, and also these roaches are all considered light. So with these Corruptors, I feel like those will absolutely melt to this composition. Goliaths and Marines are just going to destroy the shit out of this group. But, oh, and here's the thing. Solo trying to move around, and Calavi knowing that these Corruptors are out. And here's the big ground engagement right now. These Roaches, again, just melting away. But there's so many of them using drop pods. You can see they're launching the Banelings into the Raiders composition, the Brood Hosts, trying to send out those Creepers, and Calavi getting cleaned up by Solo. Solo did have a huge supply advantage there, though, so we will see if the game is going to be ending here or not. I don't know what Calavi can do. He's down almost... He's down a little over 100 supplies, so I hate to say that the game is ending, but it may be ending. I would love to see Calavi. Again, maybe there's some mechanic that I don't know about that he can do that would spin this in his favor. Because keep in mind, Solo at the same time doesn't know what Calavi has. Solo doesn't see that Calavi has 97 supplies, so he may still be acting tentatively. Here are those Creepers, as you can see there. Carriers on the ground, very, very neat. Following with a huge amount of Roaches. That's the thing about the Infested, is you can make as many units as you want, assuming you have the income. And he has the income. He's also increased his supply cap, which is something you can do from your supply structures. This probably isn't the time to be looking at this, but the egg clusters are the supply structures for Calavi. And you go ahead and you spend a lot of money, but you can raise your supply cap by 30 or so each time. Okay, and now we have a lot of Broodlords. I like how the capital ship class things in StarCraft 1, or in HeptaCraft, are like bigger. They're scaled up. They're just huge. Yeah, so Calavi's asking, so your drop that you have, the drop pods from the Brood Hive, has infinite range. It has infinite range, but you need vision. So you get 3 Roaches, 2 Banelings. You can just drop them anyway, so he could drop them right here, and he is doing that. And that's the thing, the fact that there's Banelings in there is tricky, because it just will annihilate. It will just annihilate light units. So that's tricky. I mean, and I will say, I feel like that saved Solo the game earlier, because Calavi had pushed with a reasonable sized bio ball, and those drop Banelings really make the difference. Summerloud, Calavi's calling you out. And that's game 1.